Good to go. All right. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the April 2nd, 2025 Planning Board meeting. Charlene, if you could take the roll, please.
Yep. Richard Anthony,
Here?
Karen Robinson. Yep. Rich Leclerc.
Let's
Don't
see.
see him.
Yep, don't hear, not present.
Okay. Tom Alberti, obviously
Excused.
apparently not going to be
New
here.
York.
Dan Kane,
Here.
Nolan Pelletier,
Present.
Bill Coy.
Yeah.
All right. First on the agenda, we have some draft minutes from February 19th. I believe that there were some corrections that were made. All right. There's, you have an opportunity to take a look at them. If not, let the record reflect. Mr. Leclerc is present.
I apologize.
Oh, no, no problem.
Family.
I thought I was
Oh, no.
the only one.
That's what it is.
Well, family, you can't pick them.
No.
Yeah, and what was, there was some minor corrections on
There
these
was
minutes, right?
Yeah.
a couple of misspellings.
Okay.
And then the only thing I changed was I put in the who made the motion and who seconded.
Okay. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes from February 19th.
I'll make the motion to accept the minutes from February 19th.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? All right. 500. All right, so. All right, second item on the agenda, I believe in 2024.
Well, we should accept this
Are we
other
going to accept
minutes.
the other
Is
minutes?
that, oh, is there another set in there?
Yeah.
Got it.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from March 19th.
I'll second it. All right. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? So 500. All right, no more minutes.
Nope. Good.
All right. All right, next on the agenda, request for proposal for impact fees. Back in 2024, we discussed about whether or not we want to put out a request for proposal to have our impact fees updated. I believe the impact fees that we actually gather are, let me see, which ones are they? There's a list.
School, recreation, public safety, and
Roads.
new road.
I didn't see
Exactly. All right, so in terms of request for proposal, I guess the only item that probably came back was that we just sort of need to affirmatively say the date that we're sending it out, so that, and then, when it has to come in. All right. And then the other discussion is that I believe that two of the impact fees had been recently, well, relatively recently, 2019, had been updated. So whether or not we want to do all of them or some of them is sort of a question. Or do we just turn around and say that, do the request proposal for all of them, depending what the budget will sustain, and then just say that we, reset the schedule and just say we do it every 5 years, right? Rather than just sort of having something that's from 2019 and then something that, that we do currently, and then, so we have like the staggered schedule or something like that. So I think there should be something in here, some model language or request for proposal. All right, in your packets. All right, so I'll just read, just for anyone that might be watching. All right, the Town of Plastow Planning Board is requesting proposals to update the board's impact fee methodology. Currently, there are 4 impact fees being assessed by the town of Plastow. School, recreation, public safety, and new road impact fees established for the town of Plastow. All right. So copies of a request for proposal are available on the town's website or by contacting DVOS Special Projects Coordinators. All right. So, all right. So limitations. This request for a proposal is to allow the board to make a budgetary recommendation on costs associated with updating the impact fees. Final determination of the awarding of a contract will be dependent upon the 2025 municipal budget being approved at town meeting in March of 2025. This RFP does not commit the board or the town to award a contract. All right, to pay any costs incurred in the preparation or response to this request, or to procure a contract for services, supplies, or equipment. The board reserves the right to accept or reject any or all proposals received as a result of this request, or to cancel in part or in its entirety this RFP, if it is in the best interest of the town to do so. All right, the board reserves the right to reject any and all proposals or any part thereof, to waive any formality, informality, information, and/or errors in the proposal, to accept any proposal in part or in whole as may be in the best interest of the board and the town, or any other option if it's considered in the best interest of the board and the town to do so. No proposer may withdraw his proposal within 60 days of the 2025 March town meeting. All right. Further, award of contract. The contract for this project will be awarded after the voted board to be held within 60 days of the 2025 March town meeting. All right. Any contract entered into by the town will be in response to the proposal and subsequent discussions. It is the policy of the town that contracts be awarded, among other considerations, only to responsive and responsible proposers. In order to qualify as responsive and responsible, a proposer must meet the following standards as they relate to this request. Having a working knowledge of the state of New Hampshire revised statutes annotated NHRSA as it relates to the innovative land use measures such as impact fees. Have the necessary experience, organization, technical and professional qualifications, skills, and facilities. Be able to comply with the proposer required time of completion or performance scheduled. Have a demonstrated satisfactory of performance, adhere to the specifications of this proposal, and provide all documentation required of this proposal. Contract will be awarded to a responsive and responsible proposer based on cost and experience. All contracts must be authorized and signed by the Board of Selectmen or their designee. Proposals should be submitted in an a la carte format with a separate proposal for each impact fee methodology to be updated, and any additional expenses such as attendance at additional board meetings. The board is not obligated to commit to updating all the impact fee methodologies. Costs may be determinative of which and how many impact methodologies board may consider updating. Any meeting attendance fees itemized in a proposal should be per meeting, not per number of impact fee methodologies being discussed with the board. Travel time and mileage changes should be itemized in any proposal if it is to be calculated and charged separately in any invoicing. All right. Respondents may also submit alternate pricing proposals for bundled more than one impact fee methodology updates if discounts are offered to do so. Note, there is no current new road impact fee methodology, so it is understood that any work performed for this methodology will likely involve more time, as the methodology will need to be created rather than updated. General scope of the work. The proposed scope of work will include the gathering and analysis of current data, statistics, and other necessary information to make a recommendation to the board for updating each of the 4 impact fee methodologies currently being assessed by the town. Additionally, periodic written draft reports will be made available to the board for review and comment prior to the public hearing being scheduled for the adoption of the updated impact fee methodologies. The selected consultant will be expected to attend at least 2 scheduled public meetings of the board, one when the draft is prepared, and the scheduled public hearing where adoption of the final updated impact fee methodology is considered. Additional meetings with the planning board may be scheduled if either the board or consultant has questions during the process. If there would be a separate cost for attending additional meetings beyond the required 2, that should be called out in the proposal response. All right. Schedule. Any contract to be awarded will be conditioned on approval of the 2025 municipal budget at the town meeting in March of 2025. Draft methodology to be submitted Okay. All right, draft methodology to be submitted to the board within 90 days of signed contract. Final methodology to be submitted to the board within 30 days of approval of a final draft. The schedule may be altered with consent of the board and the consultant if more than one impact fee methodology is to be updated. That schedule can either be negotiated into a contract or as an addendum to any contract signed with the board and the consultant. All right. So I guess this is the part that we need to discuss with respect to the submission date. And it seems clear that if we can do like an à la carte, we could just propose all of them, and then whoever's going to do the request for proposal would be responding to each one. And we're
Well,
not,
I think you'd want to do à la carte, and you'd want to do all of them, because it's been 6 years, right? 2019 to 2025 is 6
Right.
years, right, since we've had one done. So I think they all need to be looked at. That's a
Yeah,
long time, 6
It's
years.
been a while.
Yeah, and
Years is a
I
long
think-
time.
I think it's just formatting, they can present it à la carte.
And then they go combined, if you pick two, you get this price, pick three, you get that price, whatever.
And then we have the option. of-
Right?
Right.
right, we're not obligated. in
Give
any way.
Ringo less, yeah, we can
Yeah.
do that.
All right.
Yeah, but at least, but all of them should be,
It's been too long.
Proposed, yeah.
It's-
Where I'm new here in Plastow on the board, are the impact fees on every development, commercial, residential, in current use? What are they pertaining to?
Depends what they impact, right? If residential, obviously recreation would be part of that.
Okay.
Recreation wouldn't be part of a commercial,
Of course not.
right? So,
I'm just trying to just get a grasp on it because every town's different and my first month or so on the board here,
yeah.
so I just like to know what are the impact fees really on?
Yeah, it's,
Right,
the ones
it's-
are school, recreation, public safety, and for new roads. Those are what we have.
Okay.
And I guess just again, a requirement to be able to assess impact fees is conditioned on the fact that we do have, I believe, a CIP committee. So we have a CIP committee, so we're allowed to assess impact fees.
So impact fees on every development? They are. Oh, okay.
New, on new.
On new, okay.
Yes.
Does this include like the landscaping or something like that?
No, just with respect.
back to it?
No, just with respect to the impact fees that we're allowed to assess. Right. So we want to be able to send out a request for proposal for them to sort of update, maybe the information's dated and we should be charging, let's say, a higher rate of some kind. So that's what we're looking to do. So I guess on the submission date, the relevant, if we're going to do all of them, we just need to fill in where you see the red.
Yep.
Proposals must be submitted to the town of Plastow, Planning Department, 145 Main Street, second floor, Plastow, New Hampshire, 03865 by Thursday, and then insert the date. Do we have a preference on the date? Is there anything that,
well, this doesn't take effect till it's passed at town meeting.
right,
So we should be we should be in the neighborhood of that, otherwise it's a stale.
Right.
Typically these proposals have some, for lack of a better term.
so actually the town meeting we're talking about, this looks like it's
Well,
a dated.
the proposals, right, there's some money in the budget. I don't know what that dollar amount is. So we can use that money from the budget to pick what we want.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to go to a vote.
Okay. So we could have some for maybe this year, and then whatever does have to go to a vote, we can get it on the warrant for next year. If there's-
2026.
It would go to, like, if the budget gets approved.
Yes, yeah,
So it would be in that.
Yeah. okay.
So we could do it this year then. We could
Yeah,
say
I don't know
this.
I don't know what the dollar amount is we have.
Right.
But,
So,
okay,
Budget was approved.
yeah, that changed my thinking on the date, because I was thinking we had to push this thing
Yeah,
back.
because the budget got approved in March.
Yes,
It didn't go to the default. If it went to the default,
Then you never
they'd have no money.
right.
I think I had asked for some suggested timing. All right, so if we want to just, we just need to settle on where it says red, what we're going to, proposals must be submitted by, I mean, do we have a preference? I mean, now is, this is April, do we want to say July or something like that?
It's a long time.
Well, put out the proposal, June?
I don't think it should be any earlier than June.
Yeah, generally, if someone's interested, you'll know within 30 days. And then you can always open it back up again if you don't get enough interest.
All right, so,
However you want to do it, you can 30, 60, it's whatever you want, 45.
well, with the initial one, when we put it out, it has to be submitted by. So
Right.
we just need to, is there a date that we think that it should be submitted by?
Well, it all depends when it goes out, right? That's how you're gonna
We
go
have
from
to-
that.
We're being asked to
Right, so when,
supply the date today.
yeah, so when would it
Say
go out?
July.
It could go out like,
Probably in a week?
yeah,
Just,
I mean, it's just, this is what we're looking, this is the language
Right.
that's going to be posted.
if you say then June 1st, get something back by that first week of June, that's 45 days, which seems reasonable.
that's fair.
And then we're looking at it at probably that June meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Last meeting.
All right, so what's that date?
It's the June meeting, remember?
I know.
Which one? The first one or the second one?
The first one.
Probably the first one, because that's usually when we do
Yeah.
all this stuff, right?
Oh, I had a calendar too.
Whatever the first Wednesday is.
All right, so it's Wednesday, is it the first one, right? So it's
First.
it's June
what?
4th. All
Okay,
right, so
so if we ask for.
Thursday is going to be June 5th, right? So we could just say June 5th.
It's my birthday.
Or if you want, you go, if it's gonna go out next week, right, you're still talking the first half of April.
Yeah,
So you could easily do the
could say-
Thursday before we meet in June. Right, that's over, that's
So
over
it's
a
going to be
month.
that's going to be May 29th, right?
That's like 6 weeks, right?
yeah,
It's too
1, 2,
Does
3.
that seem,
So we could just say May 29th?
yeah, I like
Just
that.
kind of looking for a consensus here. It's May
Yeah.
29th, 2025.
that way that we see it, our first meeting in June?
All right, so all proposals must be submitted to the Town of Plastow Planning Department by Thursday, May 29th, 2025, by including 6 hard copies in a sealed envelope clearly marked impact fee methodology update on the outside of the sealed envelope. All proposals must be, upon submission, become the property of Plastow Planning Board. This solicitation in no way obligates the Plastow Planning Board to award a contract. All right, proposals will be open publicly on date, same as date of submission, all right? So that's going to be May 29th,
What was the first
2025. That's the one we just did on the first paragraph.
It was
Right,
May
so-
29th.
Yes. Proposals will be open publicly on May 29th, 2025 at 4 PM at the Plastow Town Hall and reviewed by the appropriate planning board, town staff, and/or town manager as appropriate.
Yeah, because you have to have a day to open them, and then the whole board would see it after that.
All right, all questions and answer period. All inquiries must be submitted to the by email to the Plastow Planning Department by date 2 weeks prior to deadline. Jeez. All right, so May 15th, I believe. All right, so all inquiries must be submitted by email, to Plastow Planning Department by May 15th, 2025. Answers to the questions submitted by the deadline will be responded to via email, date, time, 1 week prior to deadline. So May 22nd, 2025.
What was the last one now?
May 22nd, 2025, in the form of an addendum. The addendum so issued shall become part of the contract's documents. All right. Just out the town rule, the board will assist consultant with access to data, statistics, and information. Town staff will assist with distribution of materials between the board and the consultant in the scheduling and noticing of public hearings. Reservations. The board reserves the right to make such inquiries regarding the firm's qualifications and reputation as it deems necessary to evaluate the firm. General information. Payment of invoices, 50% invoices for each impact fee methodology update may be submitted at the time of a draft, for that updated being submitted for the board's review. Final invoices may be submitted after the board's approval of each impact fee methodology. A federal Form W-9 must be submitted by the consultant at the time of contract signing. Disputes, any and all disputes between the owner and the contractor that cannot be satisfactorily resolved between the parties will be filed in the Rockingham County Superior Court, Brentwood, New Hampshire, as the court of jurisdiction. All right. Any questions or input?
Are they looking for a date on the, it's in red in the front, right below request for proposals? On the first page.
All right. Date.
I just put April 7th, isn't that Monday?
I don't know what the state's being asked for.
Yeah, the 7th is a Monday.
Yeah, just put that.
All right. Well,
Where does that go in?
first red thing that says date on page 1. So we'll just say April 7th, 2025. Right.
And do we say a time on the question and answer period? So we have May 15th and May 22nd, but did we say that, because they're asking for a date and time? You want to just say 3 PM?
We had May 29th.
I'd say 4 o'clock, keep it consistent. Just that way there it's consistent.
Yep.
All right. So May 15th, 2025, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, and same thing with answers to the questions submitted by the deadline will be responded via email by Thursday, May 22nd, 2025, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
That'll be 4 PM too.
Yes. All right. All right. I think that was all that we were asked to provide in terms of, from staff to send this out. We had already said that we wanted to do it, so those are the last updates that we needed. Right, so any other questions on this before we move on to the next item? All right. Okay. Just going to exercise a little prerogative here. I think it's, I'd like to, before I make a motion, I think we should probably consider creating a new role on the planning board in addition to the chair and vice chair, perhaps establish a new officer role, secretary, and I think that makes sense given what we're looking at here with respect to what we see in our workshops and such, what we need to consider. All right, in terms of, let's say, maintaining the information that we do as a result of a workshop, taking input from other members of the board. So I think it's sort of logical, I think, to have a secretary.
The only thing I think of that is, I obviously, I think it's a good idea. I put it in what I suggest in the rules of procedure. I think we have to wait till we amend the rules of procedure before we can create. Because right now, we have no mechanism to create that position.
Well, we could just motion it into, it's similar to what we did with the zoning subcommittees. We didn't need to amend or do readings of the rules and procedures. We could just entertain a motion and bring them into existence.
We had to do that at 2 consecutive meetings. That's how we did it.
I believe we had to kind of staggered our way through it. But I think the New Hampshire Municipal Association was pretty clear that all you had to do was just propose a motion, have it seconded, and then voted on. So I don't see it as any different. And then we should obviously amend our rules and procedures to contemplate that.
Well, the draft that I was playing around with, in my comments, I create that position, or I suggest creating that position.
Do we need a secretary where we have a minute taker?
It's just, I think with the complexity of what's kind of going on, my thought is it's not to take minutes, it's that the zoning ordinances, the rules of procedure, everything, there's a fair amount of, lifting that goes on at the board level. And I think we're obviously in a position right now, at least for this year, where, the primary staff person is retiring at the end of the year. And, the board's going to be this board's going to take on more lifting.
And just to point out too, that, right now, all the documents that you see right here that we've circulated for consideration,
Yep.
We've loaded them, on, you'll see on the thumb drive that we did there. And these are in essence going to be working documents. We've actually been asked by, the planning department to perhaps keep them as working documents so that we're not constantly just printing stuff out. And, if there are changes made to it, then those changes can then be, annotated on the working document and then sort of pushed out to board members so that we're not starting from scratch each meeting. So,
And I will tell you, from talking to NHMA, more often than not, planning boards have a secretary that's not taking minutes. They have someone who's recording staff, but that position is generally filled.
no. The other land use board in town has a secretary, I believe, a secretary position. That'd be the Conservation Commission. So, I mean, I don't think it's anomalous. So with that said, I propose that the planning board, I move that the planning board establish an officer position designated as secretary, handle such duties as, maintaining working documents and other types of activities that the board is conducting with respect to its normal operations. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion on the motion on the table?
Just curious, doesn't she do that? I don't
I
understand.
mean, everything's recorded.
She does seem to send out an awful lot of emails.
She does. I believe she.
I know she's retiring.
Yes, but in terms of a board position, we're not talking about, let's say, the planning department has planning staff. And
Okay.
I believe Dee is, Ms. Voss is that staff. Right, but that's not identical with, an officer position on the board.
Okay.
I'm going to end up abstaining because I want to think about it.
Okay,
Just, just getting hit with it all, right now, I'm not prepared to vote one way or the other.
okay. Right. Any other discussion on the subject?
Yeah, I think it's kind of sudden. You just all of a sudden put that on us, but,
Well, do you want to table it?
Well, I mean, if you have reservations,
Yeah.
let's have it.
That's right. I mean,
Or not.
no, I just don't quite understand what the exact duties it will be of that person and what are they doing for this board that our secretary right over there is not doing.
Well, Charlene, I believe you're referring to Charlene?
Hmm?
You're referring to
Yes,
Charlene?
right.
I believe you're the minutes taker, aren't you? Your official role.
Right, and does everything come to you too, as well as Dee?
No,
Oh, not necessarily?
no. I don't feel confident in answering any of this, truly. I'm not even sure what the legality of it is, so.
Right.
I don't think this is a legality.
No,
issue. I
it's
think
just-
this is-
It's, we're not talking about a minutes taker. We're just
No,
saying,
No.
just
not
having
at
a
all.
board member designated as the secretary that would be maintaining these working documents that we're talking about.
And if I I remember correctly, isn't that in didn't you define the rules in the proposed rules of procedure?
That was one of the roles that was defined in the draft.
Right.
Yep.
All right, so if we don't want to vote on it, or if it fails, then we can just talk about it as amended in the rules and procedures, because it is one of the recommendations that we're going to be looking at.
Personally, there's a lot in those rules of procedures that I think we should be talking about. And,
I agree.
that is one of the issues. So my personal preference would be to, as we're hammering out the rules of procedures, we can hammer out whether that role makes sense or not.
All right, so
No, I think it's something we should consider. I
I think
we should-
it makes logical sense to establish the secretary who's going to do being secretary stuff. And then, if we want to talk about it in the larger scope of, as an entry in the rules and procedures, I'm fine with that too. But I'll just call the vote, and if it fails, then we'll just, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I don't want to leave you alone, so I'll say aye.
All right, opposed? Abstain?
Hey,
All right, so 220,
203.
203.
0.
2.
And we need 3 votes to make it work.
All right. All right. All right, I think we'll move on to, again, we'll just probably go down the list what we have here. But just, you'll note that there was an email that I had asked for the changes, from our engineer, our consultant. He was supposed to be reviewing the changes on the site plan regulations, and he wasn't able to do that. So we'll be waiting on whatever his comments are. And I don't know if it makes sense to look at what we have now, or do we wait for the review from Mr. Keach before we proceed on
Could
doing the site plan review?
we change the agenda and just move that down? And then it seems like we have a lot to kind of go through anyways.
Well, Tim is here on the site plan stuff, so
Oh, okay.
I think
Hi,
we
Tim.
should, in the interest of Tim, since he's already been at an energy committee meeting, maybe talk about these, at least in what we got.
All right.
Yep. So where do we start with the first one?
Well, look, do you want to, I'll give you an overview of my comments, which were,
Yeah, I had that down.
I only focused on sections 1 through 7 and then 13.
Do you want to bring it up on you can actually use the
Yeah.
overhead if you
Do
want.
you want me to?
Yes, why
Yeah.
not?
Okay, so which group are we talking about now?
It'd be the one that says combined site plan and subdivision
Site plan,
regulations.
oh, okay.
And for the interest of, Tim, do you want to, are you providing input or are you just observing? As if you are, what's that? Okay.
Come on.
I think you should just be able to click on it, right? Open. So you think you just moved it into the,
What the hell did I do?
I think you put it into the master plan file by accident.
Did I? I hate not being able to use a mouse.
I totally agree with you. I go into meetings, the young
Click-
kids.
click
they-
on the
they don't
master-
need
click
them
on the
most or
master
anything,
plan
but I
file.
like it.
Can't operate the thing without it.
Yeah.
It's like, my hands are tied.
Right.
It's like an age
And
thing.
then just move
It's
that
true.
out of the file.
It's definitely an age thing.
Okay.
Much as I hate to admit it, it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Better work a MacBook sometime.
All right.
So just get to.
And again, what I was talking about, this here would be an example of our working document. So I mean, whatever we're doing on here, it'd be, I don't think we're going to finish it tonight. But this would be something that, we would preserve, or you'd make a copy of it or something, date, the date format or something. So that it could be distributed to everyone and you could see what changes were made and what we're talking about. So we're not just kind of starting from zero, shall we say.
Okay, we're starting from zero. Article 1, right?
A lot of the things that I ended up suggesting were more stylistic, at least in this area. One thing I will tell you in Article 1, there's a lot of stuff in here. I mean, as to be like a general provisions article,
What page you on?
So what page are we on then? That was Article 1.
6.
Oh.
So Article 1 is like, I don't know.
And just before we start, again, some of the changes that we're looking at in terms of the edit, like if you see on the printed document that you have in front of you, you'll see that, first page deleted, 2024 is updated to 2025. All right, the page 2, you'll note that the majority of the edits that you see on it, these are sort of ministerial, but, where you've had like page 8's deleted on the table of contents, 9 is put in, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so you can kind of fast forward through some of these deletes. 1, 2, page 3 again is updating table of contents. Page 5 looks like it's, so those are all just changes. So those are the sorts of changes that if we were to say that we want to have made, we're okay with. Pages 1 through 5 look like they're just ministerial and we're updating either the table of contents and or the numbering.
Just, you got to remember, 1 through 5, as you go through this, that thing's going to constantly change
Okay.
as we change pages,
Right.
as we change section numbers. So like looking at it now is somewhat of a waste of time.
Well,
Because
we're just
Right.
orienting people to the fact that this is a sort of changes that we're going to look. So if something needs to be updated on numbering, that's what we're
yeah, it's just going to,
Yeah.
the more you play around with it, the more you're going to change.
All right. Now, okay.
So we're starting at page 6.
Yes, page 6. And before we, again, procedurally, we're going to be looking at these things. I think maybe, once we proceed a little bit, then maybe we take a consensus whether or not we're fine with the changes, as proposed or as discussed, so that we can say that we've made forward progress in evaluating the document and not have to go back and, make a distinction between de minimis and a material change. All right, so Dan, page 6.
Yeah, so all I did was insert code enforcement officer and zoning officer, because those are the terms that are defined in the zoning ordinance. Shall determine if a change of use requires board review and approve of an amended site plan.
Did you make like the first one where it says purpose and authority?
Again,
You added
that was more
purpose.
of editorial. I created a title. From a format standpoint, similar to what we had done with the zoning ordinance, just in terms of.
If anyone on the board at any time has a question, feel free to just ask a question like, what was changed? If it said that, we put in a title where it says purpose or title, where as opposed to, where it just said authority and general provisions, feel free to interject. All right.
And I will tell you stylistically, I started to really look at defined terms, okay? So if we created a term, I made sure we created it as a defined term, and that has When you get to Article 2, you can see why. And terms in here, terms throughout this document that have definitions in the zoning ordinance are treated as if they are the defined term from the zoning ordinance. So there's a cross-reference.
All right, so if we come to that edit, you just.
That would
type
be
of
in
edit,
Article
just-
2,
yeah.
but that concept starts here.
Okay,
Just an overriding comment about Article 1. There are almost 10 pages in Article 1 in general provisions. The vast majority are repetitive, So if I was to get a second bite, just me personally, a second bite at this, there would be a fair amount of this that would come out, or is suggested to come out, because it's captured in other articles in these amendments, these site plan regulations.
okay, so if we come to an example like that, then we can.
Yeah, I did none of that in this first pass because it's some work, because you have to go through and match up everything. I mean, these site plan regulations are 77 pages long, so.
All right, so again, we'll start at the first one. We have purpose and title that's has been inserted. You have some formatting, with respect to formatting, not italicized, not bolded and such. 1.62, deleted zoning official, we inserted code enforcement officer and/or zoning officer.
Now, when can I bring up the questions about what we have and don't have right now?
We're on page 6.
I know.
Right, if you have something that you want to add or talk about on page 6, I think that's what we're doing. Is there something on page 6 that you think should be added or taken out?
I just would like to know, what are all the offices held for any of this, any of meeting the regulations? I mean, we have people supposedly assigned for every one of these things. What is required? You have plumbing, you have electric.
You're talking about
Inspecting.
some sort of zoning officer or code
officers.
enforcement
Yes, I
officer?
want to know what we have or what we should have.
All right.
I guess that's what I'd like to bring up.
Yeah, okay, I don't know if that's germane to this, but I mean,
Okay.
right now, we have a code, Bill, the town does have a code has a position for a code enforcement
Building
officer.
officer, I'd like to know the first one.
Well, code enforcement officer or building inspector, that's Mike Dorman, correct?
At the
Filling
moment,
in. at the moment.
Residential.
as who's filling in, obviously, there's an ad out there right now.
We have an electrical inspector, I believe,
Yep, Tom
Yes.
Tamburello.
Okay, that's, I just wanted to know if the names were available. right?
and we have somebody who, let me see, plumbing
Who's
inspector.
plumbing? Is
Dave. Yeah, Dave Fields, right?
Okay,
that him?
Yep.
Okay,
all right, so,
but we still don't
Do
really.
we have someone doing commercial inspections?
I
Right,
don't know. I only heard it was, he was handling residential.
residential.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's handling what he can handle.
Yeah.
And then there is someone else that they can bring in to look at other
Okay.
stuff.
all right. So does that answer your question?
Well, it answers my question, but I didn't know who decides now on the one we're missing.
I think that's,
It's not our decision.
it's not our
Yeah.
decision. I think that's Board of
We have
Selectmen
no input or anything to hear
or
it?
the town manager.
Nope, town manager,
Town manager.
Board of
Only.
Selectmen, yep.
Okay. And there's no timeline on when we're going to get this replacement, right? Is that what you're saying? Just an ad? went
Well,
out.
it just was put in a week ago. It's the first, it's the earliest it could have been put in.
Yep.
And I can't say much more than that.
Fair enough. Right, anything else on page 6 from anyone on the board, perhaps? No? Continue, Dan. Mr. King, sorry for
Well,
the informality.
No, so there's, in terms of anything I suggested, there's nothing more in Article 1. I will just tell you, in Article 1, where you see red terminology, where that's from planning board staff. And I suspect those are they're added language from the combination exercise. So
Okay.
anything that I did has a comment in the right hand.
Oh, okay, all right, no, that's good. All right, so you're basically saying that if, so just to summarize, we're waiting on our consultant to review the changes, and I assume the changes that we're looking at are the ones that are in red here that are being reviewed by.
I don't believe that's not, I don't believe that's in Steve Keach's wheelhouse. He's going to be looking at the technical stuff, okay? So that's like soil-based, lot sizing, that's all of those are in sections 8 through, 12, if you will.
Okay.
So
Right, so
that's what I expect you'll get from Steve Keach. Sections 1 through 7 are really the administrative aspects of the site plan regulations.
All right, do you have anything additional that
I
you?
do.
Okay, so just tell us what page we're going to be looking at.
Page 11, I'll bet you.
So Article 2,
That's page 16.
that is correct. So Article 1, Article 2. So I generally copied in pieces or the concept from the zoning ordinance and established a hierarchy as we are defining terms. So basically that hierarchy works. If it's not defined in this regulation, but defined in the zoning ordinance, it shall have the meanings therein. If it's not in the regulations and not in the zoning ordinance, but it's in the New Hampshire state statutes, it's going to have the meanings given therein. If they're not in the statutes, then it's going to, but they're in the building code, it will have the terms given, and it would have the meaning of the terms given in the building code. And then you get back down to the common usage as defined in standard American dictionaries. This is identical to the hierarchy that sits in the zoning ordinance in terms of how terms get defined.
All right, so we're not
So
inventing.
it's just so they're matching up.
Yes, that's exactly. And that's the same theme in here. We matched up the definitions to what's in the
I guess
zoning
the word is
ordinance.
keep it uniform.
If we're going to make our mistakes, we make them consistently throughout the,
Put together.
Make it easy for people to find.
Yeah.
All right, so this is done so it matches in the zoning. All right,
so that's, and then at the end of this on page 18,
well, down
Or
on
do
the
you wanna
bottom
go
of
to
16, all right. I
16.
mean, the other ones you just dropped in, that's fine, as defined in Article 2. So you're just anchoring where these things are.
It's the identical language from Article 2 of the zoning ordinance. All I did was change regulations. Instead of ordinance, I made it regulations, which is what we call these.
All right, page 17.
So what I did here is there was the concept is these definitions relate to the entire regulations. If there were definitions that related to a specific regulation, so lighting, for example, okay? I moved all the lighting definitions from here to the lighting article, which is the same thing the same practice we use in the ordinance is if they're defined in Article 2 of the zoning ordinance, they apply to the entire ordinance. If they're defined within a given article within the ordinance, they apply only to that article.
Just so we understand the edits that are being proposed on the side where you're saying move down, move down, move down.
Right.
Where in fact is it moved down from? I mean, where is it?
it's in the lighting, I forget which
We moved it to
article
the
it
lighting.
is.
Right, so,
These things are.
When moved down means, so the way
Yeah, I know,
Word
but-
works is it's a big, long sheet, just with pages. So when moved down is you go into other pages below this one or after this one.
but just for orientating on this page, like for instance, where is fixture when it says move down?
Yeah, so it's not on this page.
And what
It's in
page
the
is it?
whole article. I don't know. It could be at
Okay.
page 80, you know, or,
Right.
well, there's only
Step one.
77. So maybe page 75, I don't know.
So no changes have been made to that. That's just been a piece of text that's just being moved.
It's moved.
Okay.
Right.
All right, as defined in the zoning ordinance, let's say under motor vehicle, that's an addition, right?
That term is in the zoning ordinance. So all I did was, if it was in the zoning ordinance, we defined it as if it was in the zoning ordinance. I think that was the overall intent, is to have the same definitions. And
Okay.
they are virtually the same, just, you know, like road is actually the same as street.
All right, so in terms of additions,
Do
then,
that
you know,
before.
that's just an addition saying that as defined in the zone. So you're anchoring it to the zoning
Yes.
or anchored.
The real meat here is to look at page 18. Because these are all terms that are used in these site plan regulations.
And that's the bottom portion where you say definitions to
So,
add from zoning
yeah.
ordinance.
Those are all terms used in this, used in these site plan regulations that are defined in the zoning ordinance.
All right, and that goes over to page 19.
Yeah.
The list wise of things that are just being added. And all we're doing is, you know, enumerating definitions that are coming in from the zoning ordinance. So
Yeah,
is
and it would be and then, I mean, the exercise here is to go through. So we use these terms inside these site plan regulations, but they're not defined and,
Right.
or they're a little bit schizophrenic. So we'll capitalize it in one place and not in another. And when you read the context of it, it's the same term, you know?
So 18 and 19, bottom portions is just the enumeration of terms that are going to be sort of defined and then used throughout. All right.
All definitions. Yeah, definitions.
So, just a question, page 20. All right, this is in red. Is that you?
Now, the only me was
Adding the R
the R.
in front of regulations.
And then, yeah, and then on page 21, I just took out duplicative when it says deleted down on Q.
The curbing.
The same language was copied 3 times. It was duplicative, so I took it out.
Must have been important.
Really want to make our point. But M and N I added.
Okay.
And this is, I think this is not just a, you know, a wordsmith ad. You know, the narrative that at least I'm recommending of putting forward is, my concern is on the completeness of applications, the opinions that we're receiving as to zoning compliance, ordinance compliance. And it can get a little broader in terms of, I don't want to, I wouldn't think it's a good idea for this board to be cleansing, properties that have violations of the zoning ordinance, properties that have violations of general ordinances, properties that don't have good title to the, to what they own, if you will. And I've become concerned because I see some of those things that have shown up here. And, we're being asked to do things that I think stretch our authority and stretch our responsibility. So M&M doesn't fix that. It's all it does is that when we get a site plan or when we get a subdivision plan, we've got someone on record confirming that that plan meets all the standards,
Well, applications that do come in front of us, I mean, there's at least, we're looking for an opinion from, the competent zoning official indicating that it's zoned, for the use in question. But you'll notice, I think, in the applications that we get that, I mean, if we disagree with that, then, the board can take a position where we
Right.
disagree with that.
Yeah, that's not I just,
Okay.
to me, I think things need to be in a little bit tighter box,
Okay.
given what we're being asked to do,
I think we should lose it. Huh?
All right. 22, what are we looking at?
And this is where we get into it, so if you recall,
All right, okay, so what you said basically is sort of the lead up to what we're talking
Yes.
about here on
and
page 22.
if you recall, we had this language we were playing around with last summer. And this is actually the language that board council kind of reviewed and worked out, kind of a compromise as to how we would go about making sure that we're receiving an opinion of this creates two kind of steps, but really the same step. Is the concern I had raised with council indirectly through the chairman was, again, I didn't want us to be looking at things that were not in compliance and somehow we cleanse it, that's not our job. So this is the identical language as we left it from that draft, just inserted into here. Because this language was originally inserted into the site plan and similar language in the subdivision regulations when the two sat like this. Now that it's combined, you're just looking at it in here. So,
Okay,
and all of this is going to get reviewed by council anyway. So that's but I didn't want to leave that on the cutting room floor. That's where it was.
yeah, I think that is something that we've had discussed.
Yeah, and these were the things that Will Reddington had commented on.
Anyone have any questions? All right. Again, you're not making these, like we're, page 25, you have something in red.
Yeah,
Is that an artifact or something? Or is that from,
You need to read these over.
Yeah, I think I just highlighted it.
Okay.
I still think that may need some attention.
All right, page 26.
So this is the same concept that was in, and this is the language from that. So this is where we get to determining when an application is complete.
Right.
I mean, we currently do have, it does go through a completeness checklist. Is
Yes,
there-
and these are. So this looks like B and C are right from the site plan regulations. D and E are the language that was modified. It looks like it's all of it, but it's not. There were changes. I can send you what, it may be helpful for me to just resend the Reddington's comments from,
Yeah, I think it'd be good that the
Yeah.
Yeah.
board sees, what the legal comment on it
Yeah.
was.
I'll resend that.
Yeah, because this actually does kind of,
So what this is doing is it's making the checklists and the applications all part of the completeness review, which they effectively are now.
so we're not doing anything in essence
Not
new or innovative. We're just sort of memorializing what we actually
correct,
have.
correct. Other than
Okay.
those determinations that we talked about in Article 4.
Right.
So that's
and
D.
those determinations, I don't think we've not had an application where we've had something, where a determination hasn't been, opined on. So, but we're just saying that we need to have it. And I think it's important, at least from my opinion, to see what the justification is rather than just having an opinion stating that it's
That's what that
complies.
determinations do.
Right.
So we're, the term of art in all decisions by all boards are written findings of fact. That's from the RSA. That should be our standard. And then
Right, just on the bottom here, E.
that's my deed one.
And just for some context, without going into a particular application or not, I think what we've, in our experience as a board, we've seen that it's not necessarily the case that a deed, where it is required
So-
and it comes in to the planning office. I think what we're asking is we want the deed to sort of tie out to what the site plan is actually saying. All right, and if there's a disparity, maybe that should be taken care of before it comes, before it shows up in front of the board.
Yeah, my view is just the applicant should fix it.
Right. Otherwise we kind of have a situation where we sort of gerrymandered, something where we tried to balance, the fact that it looks like a deed wasn't saying something and.
Well, I don't want to, sitting as a member of the planning board, I don't want to be sitting there,
Right.
Having to now adjudicate someone's, land dispute.
It's not our job.
No, it's
No.
not our job to do it.
No.
That's cut and dry.
And let's face it, 99% of these things, the deed's going to match, So rather than, we shouldn't let the exception,
Right.
And I don't think it's that big of an ask.
All right, so Page 27. What do we got here? All right, so you're just sort of like on H, we're just adding something to sort of add greater context to the word checklist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is if you read the RSAs regarding, the development of site plan and subdivision regulations, a checklist is typically included, should be included and may be very well considered as evidence of application completeness. So.
All right.
Right now, they're not combined.
All right, per section. All right. Page 35. Is that just, again, that just looks like a, change something into red.
Yeah, I just highlighted that just to make
Okay.
sure.
So page 36, Article 7, plan data requirements.
This is more a note for me as I was looking through these, is that we refer to the actual application, and that again is included as an exhibit to these. Because I will tell you, all of these items, when it says plan data requirements, those are all items that are listed on the application.
All right, so you're just tying it back to the actual,
Well, and if you remember the old site plan or the former subdivision site plan, they had a list, a mile long with all the different letters. This is a list.
page 40. I think that's, yeah. Site plan additional requirements.
Yeah, and I just stuck the application for planning board.
So you didn't add that, you didn't
No,
add 7.8?
no, I just-
Okay.
It was more of a note.
Page 41. Looks like there's some renumbering going on.
I don't know, did I?
8.2.
Table 2.
That might be from D. Does that have a comment in the right margin?
No.
No,
Okay.
It's in red.
Yeah, so I didn't do that.
So next time.
I stopped, just so you know, I stopped at Article 7. I didn't, I read the other articles, but I didn't. To me, they were all fairly technical aspects, and I think that should come from Mr. Keach.
Is there something in 13?
13, I looked at landscaping.
Yes.
That's going to be page 68.
Yeah, did I don't
Actually, no. let's
I don't
go
even
back
think I
to-
did anything in there. I think I just,
No, it doesn't look like anything was
No.
marked up there.
With landscaping regulations, there was nothing red,
Yep, nothing red, blue, or anything.
All right, just,
except
well,
on off-street parking.
let's just go back to page 66. This is the items that were moved down, direct light fixtures, right?
yes,
Under,
yes.
all right, so that's where.
That's where, those definitions all
That's
got
where the
moved
light
to that.
definitions went. Okay.
That's what I was thinking of.
56 light definitions.
And there's probably there's like some soil definitions that probably should be in the soil area and stuff, so.
All right,
And I will go through this entire document and just make sure the terms define up, so.
All right, so we're at least familiar with what, your first pass through of it is. We're waiting on our consultant, Steve Geach, is going to provide some comment and stuff like that, so we'll probably be looking at this again. All right, any questions?
I mean, I will tell you, I think they did a very good job on this. This is a difficult task. It's complicated. There's stuff. And I think, what showed up was pretty coherent, from combining two documents probably written over the last, multiple years. So I think, this was a big project, and I think a good job was done. I'm just looking at it, as fresh, and I'm more interested in the definitions and seeing that the terms flow through the whole thing. Our process works. I don't think we need to be too much playing around with the process, other than my points on completeness.
So in terms of moving forward, then, we'll have comments coming from Mr. Keach. We might have some additional review that's happening here. Review that ultimately, apart from what Mr. Keach provides, those changes will probably have to be reviewed by legal, just to, have them give them a once over. And then I think we have to schedule a public hearing on it, I believe.
I believe you're correct.
All right, so more to come on that, I guess. All right, I think, do we have a master plan?
Do you want to,
What's
well,
that?
Tim's here, if it's all right, Tim, not to speak to you. Do you want to talk about, do we want to pull up the legislative update?
Let's talk about yeah, because I think we included, everyone should have got a copy of the legislative update. That was something that was, Tim Moore was sort of curating. All right, but it's now part of your regular distribution that you're going to see in your emails. All right.
I have to run it off.
No, I would say that we should probably, I mean, it's not something you want to run up. There are hyperlinks that are in that. So you're going to want to be able to navigate on that spreadsheet. And, we're currently in a legislative period right now where you have a number of bills that have probably passed the House right now, the New Hampshire House. They're going to, proceed over to the Senate. All right. And so we want to be sort of cognizant as to what's potentially coming down the pike so that we're not being surprised, that what we should be looking at and such. So
So we weren't given a copy of this.
no, everyone should have it as part of their email distribution or push. If you don't, then we can make sure you get it. But
And it comes out to us once a week.
yes. So
Well, I don't know where you're getting it, but it's, I don't know if you're doing this yourself, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I go through the legislative bucket every weekend.
Yeah.
so you're
That's a
actually
lot of excitement in a weekend.
you're actually putting it together yourself. Is that something that you're going to continue to do, or is that something that somebody else should be picking up? Just trying to get a sense of how much of this hobby is going to be permanent.
I'm doing it for the New Hampshire Association of Regional Planning.
All right. So in your capacity as being RPC commissioner for Plastow. All right. No, that's excellent.
Oh, we appreciate that.
Another couple of years.
Is it a 3-year term?
The commissioner is 4 years.
Okay.
I don't know when my term is up.
They just let us know so we can re-up you.
Right. Particularly like when you're not here.
All right. So for the purpose of the board, just to orient the board members on this this spreadsheet here.
So, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be manning this, right? So basically, red means you're not worrying about it. Yellow means it's passed.
Yeah.
So in this case, it's a House bill. It's passed the House. And
Okay,
then if you just move across.
Fingers.
My- is it not? Hang on.
Maybe can you just grab and drag it with your finger?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
2 fingers and pull it down.
memo to self, laser pointer and a
Mouse.
mouse
And mouse pad.
and a mouse pad, yes.
Yeah, you
It
get away
should
with those
just move
mouse
like
pads
this.
these days.
Right, so that's 2.
I'm a Mac guy too. I hate these things. I used to,
Whatever,
So
Dan.
different.
no,
Get with the program.
maybe I can scroll.
Can you just click, can you just click on the? Yeah,
Push the arrow to the right.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying
on
to,
the scroll. Oh,
that works,
Oh,
but the
definitely went
bottom
down.
one doesn't work.
Get a 12-year-old, figure it out in 2 seconds.
there you are.
Unfortunately, it's the truth.
So even a 4-year-old can take care of it.
That's even worse, but yeah.
Yes.
Cl-
Well, just explain. Just explain.
There you go.
Perfect.
I solved that problem.
Perfect.
We're at the ocean now.
It's a nice view. It's a nice view.
All right,
The wrong view, but it's
All
a
right.
nice view.
Let me get-
right in the bottom there, click on that
Yeah.
Excel sheet. There we go.
There we go. Found it.
All right. So this just goes across the top, what committee approved it, what the House status is, and then what the next steps are,
So, okay, where do we see next, where do we see next step?
Passed
Where do we
already.
see next steps on this?
So that's the last hearing date. So this just happens to be on these particular bills. But like, hang on for a minute. Let me just move it over here. Let's go back. So when you see House status, it matches up to the color code here.
All right, so can we see one where it's passed the House and it's
So
going
it's
to the
yellow.
Senate?
So it's,
Well, didn't we just have one pass the
Well,
Senate
but I
too?
just
Let's
want
look
to, I
at-
just want to navigate on
look at
this.
House Bill 221. Okay. Come on.
Don't do that. Just click on the arrow underneath.
Yeah, I'm trying. All right.
No pressure.
No, it just, so it's, I don't know how many more times, I'm not gonna click on the
All right,
arrow 50
so-
times. But, yes, Uncle, you can come over and,
Can we have the assistant webmaster?
can I just, yeah, why can't I just,
No, that's the
Nope.
magnification.
hang on,
Hit cancel, good.
I will. So can I just,
Yeah, there is a mouse behind that laptop there.
is there?
Yep.
Yeah, wired one.
Now you gotta, I think it might need
Now
to
it
be
needs
plugged
be
in.
You know
connected.
what the problem is, Dan? He's known about that for the last.
Yeah,
few hours.
right.
I can't see that far.
I'll just mess with them for a while. I need a mouse? Oh, don't worry about it.
Well, let's see.
Of course, there's no,
It's the Okinawan way of learning how to
Has to have
swim.
a-
there's no USB, available USB port.
or by itself.
That's why it was stuck behind the back.
I don't know what this dongle is.
Is that?
Is that your thumb drive?
That's the thumb drive.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't
All right,
eject.
sorry.
No,
No, can't add, that's why it was
Hence
there.
why the mouse wasn't plugged in.
Yep, that's why it wasn't in.
All right, house status, a bill that passed the House.
Yeah, so so when you see when you see like in blue there where it says, I'll skip Burke.
This, okay.
So when you see,
Already. What?
There you go. It's as clear as mud.
thank God I got to that. All right.
I was waiting for that slide all night.
It's the best one. So the House majority, OTP is ought to pass.
Okay,
So that's typically a precursor to yellow, okay?
All right.
All right, with amendments. The trick here is these bill summaries, typically are the bills that were introduced. So if you really want to find the bill, you have to go look at,
let's go back to the left, the first column. There should be a hyperlink.
That's not easy.
It's easy for you to say.
yeah, it's easy for you to get there.
It's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Now, click the bill number. Yeah.
So here, this is the bill.
Yeah.
So this will take you to the
Right.
New Hampshire legislature.
All right, so I guess the purpose of this exercise is that you'll be getting this spreadsheet. You'll see that, I guess we're probably interested in things that have passed the House, or there's a recommendation, let's say, ought to pass. And you can drill down actually, on the bill in question.
Can you do this on the phone?
You could
I
try to
understand.
do it on the,
It's-
you could try to
yeah,
do it on the phone.
Doing it on the phone is
You could try.
not worthwhile. I don't think so. But I will tell you
The tablet, perhaps?
Yeah,
I don't have anything but the
Okay.
phone.
with a USB
Period.
port, with an available USB port.
All right,
Is that they will only take you to those hyperlinks will only take you to the bills as introduced.
Right.
These things are getting modified fairly significantly.
Oh, it's rapid fire.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
because
so,
I have a list of everything that goes and what date and that stuff, but I
so
can't. get
Tim,
all
I
this
don't know what,
all right. So our RPC commissioner, is there anything that I've perhaps left out that should be of interest for anyone that's looking at this spreadsheet that you've prepared?
I'm not with it.
There was, so many bills introduced this year. Kind of what we
Yeah.
track. I didn't spend enough time just getting the updates.
Well, I'm just talking about, like, with respect that we have the actual bill, like column 2 or B. All right, there's a color coding that we can look at, and we see the status of the bill. So if it's passed, then it's going to the Senate. I mean, is there anything else in terms of, make somebody a good user of this spreadsheet should know?
If, on the status column, if there's an amendment to the bill, there's a hyperlink to the amendment.
All right,
The restriction there is you can only have, sometimes there's more than one amendment, but you can only, in one column, you can only have one.
Have one.
right,
so we should, if you see an amendment, you should probably do a little more research then,
Oh,
so.
yeah, this is what we're- Last 2 years ago, on the budget bill, there were, I think, 25 or 30 amendments to House Bill 1 or 2, I think. Enough so I had a separate tab for House Bill 2 amendments. If that happens again this year, I probably do the same thing. I haven't seen many amendments yet to the House Bill.
Right.
well, one of them though has 100 separate line items, Tim, right?
Well, yeah, right, yeah.
Either House Bill 1 or 2, I forget which one, but yeah.
House Bill 1, I think, is typically how the state government funds its agencies.
Yeah.
So there'll be an allocation for Department of Transportation, for DES, for, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
House Bill 2 then is more appropriating X dollars for Project Y. And it's still a very lengthy bill. How do you amend it?
All right, so, but for purposes of this board, then, this spreadsheet's going to be a tool, this basic information, and if there's something that looks like it has multiple, if you see amendments associated with it, there could be multiple amendments, and you might have to do a little more research, but at least you have the bill number, and is there a particular, like, if we wanted to, if we wanted to do research on something, is there something, let's say, that comes out that we can point to do that research if there's multiple amendments? I mean, what resource would we do if we wanted to do a deeper drill down? Just off the top of your head.
HMA has, they publish a weekly legislative resource.
All right, so New Hampshire Municipal Association, which is probably a good segue. I went and spoke to them over the last couple of days, and we sent you an email, or had Dee forward you an email, so that you now have access. They had switched over the access that they had, so we had to have it reset. So everyone on this board, if they go out to New Hampshire Municipal Association, you're going to go to the login page, all right, and you're probably going to click, I don't have, access, or you're going to put your email address in or something, but you can interact with the page and you're going to be able to log into New Hampshire Municipal Association, all right, and, it's a lot of resources there for research. There's probably like some sort of certifications that you could actually go through and have them, which involves some webinars that they have online. In addition to, I think, Dan, you'd pointed out that they probably have like a lunchtime, like online. Zoom
Yeah,
type thing.
planning seminars at noon, that's what they
So
call
I mean,
them.
if if you were going to do, those are the types of resources that are
Yes, I
available.
just signed up for one of them.
Yeah.
Who
So-
gets an hour lunch?
What's that?
I said, who gets an hour lunch?
Well,
Precision more construction, right?
Trust me, it's in a lot of lines of business.
Yeah.
I'm sitting eating my lunches, I'm on the laptop all day.
yeah, I
That's
mean,
the way it works.
and they're actually very good, and I will tell you, one of the things they do a fairly good job of is keeping, local land use boards in the loop as to what's happening at the state level,
All right.
So, this is good for us as we kind of just, to me, this is an awareness tool. So we know what's kind of like out there and we can start thinking of it. But these things, just from my 1 year of kind of looking at this fairly closely, a lot of this stuff comes down to the last, month or few weeks before it gets put through. So.
So another tool that we should be looking at on a weekly basis when it does
Right.
show up.
All right, Nolan, how
Any questions? No, and again, like I said, last email that Dee forwarded to you should be a link to the New Hampshire Municipal Association with a login. If you haven't visited that site, please do take a look. There's a lot of stuff out there.
And what if you can't get to it?
You should be able to. There's a link that you just need to click.
I know. Okay, I tried. I'll show you.
I'll be your help desk, Karen. I'll be your help desk.
Okay.
All right. Let's see, what do we have next? All right. I think we could talk about, again, for master plan purposes, I think. Throw myself on no mouse. right, just an update on the master plan. When it comes up. All right, Plastow master plan. All right, right now, I mean, last year, or actually going back to 2023, I think we got a HOP grant in which we were doing for a housing component on the master plan. We had a consultant we had a circuit rider from RPC that helped us with we did a survey, we did some analysis with respect to housing in Plastow, and we had a series of changes that were built out on the master plan with respect to housing. And there might have been a little work, I think, done with economic development, a little work on economic
Just a little
development.
bit. Wasn't much.
Right, but not much. But there was an incompatibility with the particular software in which the master plan was written in. RPC has it, and they were going to sort of merge the changes that we did on the master plan. All right, we're update on that. We're still waiting for them to do that. I sent an email the other day asking for an update when we could expect that. So there are a number, that's why it doesn't necessarily look like it's been updated here. All right, but there'll be some changes when we get it back from RPC, and then an updated version of the master plan with the housing component will be brought into what we have on the website. In terms of economic development,
Right, there we go.
all right, I think if I remember correctly, let's see, economic development was, we were looking to build out, what do you want to call it? It'd be nice to see what the table of contents says.
I think it's what, is it section 7, is it?
Well, the implementation portion of economic development, so 65. All right. So each plan, part of the plan here has, I think you have a strategy, and then you have implementation portion of it.
And dates to try to have it done.
Yeah, target for completion dates. I think, just trying to, transportation,
Working on it.
land use.
Economic development, you're right there.
Where?
This, what you have up.
Okay. Economic development, all right. So what we have is we don't have the implementation portion of it done. Okay.
That's what RPC is working on, isn't it?
No, I don't think we did. RPC is working on merging the housing portion, whatever we did on housing.
Yeah, no, you're right,
Right. So we haven't done anything in terms of, I guess, implementation. Yes.
Got a question. Okay. This is a question that came up now 2 years. Economic development was supposed to be after we did the housing, that we weren't going to try to keep working on housing. We were going to definitely just hit economic development. And that's what we tried to start last year. So now we're back, you're saying that we're going to be putting housing.
No, I was just giving you an update on that our housing, why housing is not reflected in here is because there was an incompatibility of software, and RPC is supposed to be doing the edits. So they owe us the work product for the housing portion of it. So we're done with housing.
We're done though, right?
We're done with
So
housing.
we are going to be starting with the economic.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So I think what we need to think of in terms of economic development is the implementation. Keep me honest, Tim, that's correct, right? Is that we were looking to just sort of do the implementation portion of economic development.
Well, I mean, you need to develop the economic development chapter first, the
Right.
master plan, and then the implementation is once you describe what you want to do for economic development, then the implementation plan is how you're going to accomplish it.
Yeah. I seem to,
CPD or whatever.
I seem to think that we did, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought we did some, at least, strategy-wise, something on economic development. I mean, I guess you have to go back and look at
I
that.
don't think any of that's in the master plan. I thought that was what the master plan committee was playing around with,
Right. We were
Right,
trying to
right.
get it in there.
was to develop the actual
All right.
piece that was going to go in there.
Right, so I guess, from at least my perspective, is that, the master plan could be found on the planning website, okay? We're looking to work on economic development, right, and that's what we should be looking to build out, whatever that, if that means that, we look at, maybe do a compare and contrast of similarly sized
That's what we went out and did.
communities or something like that, and
Yes,
just maybe,
that's what we
instead of
did.
reinventing the wheel, we could look at.
Do you guys have a work product? Have you,
We-
like a draft of anything?
We never
or-
met again. That was our problem, to put what we found from each of the communities. I don't know which communities you did, and weren't we all three dividing communities?
Yeah, we were trying to meet again, but I know we were dealing with, I know Tim had conservation and some other stuff, so it was. really
Right, no, I know,
squishy.
and that's
But-
right. Yeah, it's right, it got sidetracked.
No, and this is not, I'm not asking a question. I just, if we had something, okay, that's
All right.
a point that we
We
start
never met
at,
again.
you know?
We never met
That
again.
was-
All right, so I guess that's the sort of thing that we probably need to circulate. So if there's some sort of work product or whatever that came
Okay.
from that subcommittee, then we can maybe push that out.
Or even just a summary of what you were doing, like the towns you were looking for, that can be
That
If there's
was written
no-
in my thing,
yeah, if there's no specific,
working on.
Okay.
I wrote that in the first meeting summary.
So do we have
These are
work,
the
do we have
tasks.
some work product? that-
We
that
haven't met, so
Okay.
I don't know what anybody got.
All right.
I
Well,
guess
could-
that's right.
Well, he's a civilian now.
Yeah, I know.
so why don't we just summarize what was done, and that's the beginning?
Okay. So if somebody has some work product, please sort of summarize it and then forward it to the chair, and then I'll have it distributed to everyone.
Okay.
So is that a good idea? Or at least so that we can kind of a baseline where we're at? All right.
I forgot what communities everybody had.
Any questions? No? All right. You want to move on to rules and procedures? Or is there anything else that we want to kind of flesh out on this? All right. All right, so rules and procedures, that's chapter 225? Is that
Yep.
correct? Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
All right. Do we need someone to drive here, or is it, is it necessary to have this up?
I don't think so.
All
There's
right.
15 pages there.
All right. All right, we have a number of type of edits. Let me see, is there anything that would,
Do you want me to just give you an overview of
yeah,
what
why
I
don't
was-
you do that? What we're looking at.
So the way I looked at these is just completely fresh. And I was most concerned with making sure that, we had a good process, that we clearly established, responsibilities of ourselves and any staff, and that we made sure or ensured that we maintained independence. So that's, and I will tell you, I looked at probably at least a dozen separate rules of procedure from various towns similar to our size, and looked at what they were doing, how they viewed things, some language that they were using. And this is the byproduct of that, of that kind of research. One thing, and this is not inconsistent with what I see happening at the state level as to maintaining independence between land use boards. That seems to be a hot button. My recommendations was to incorporate some of those thoughts in here. Typically with these, we have read them twice at a public meeting. That's the enactment process. I'm recommending that we just hold one public hearing. We go through the current enactment process, and then when this is all done, if we ever want to amend these again, it would be through a single public hearing. Seems to me a lot cleaner.
All right.
I don't know what reading at 2 meetings does, other than occupy time.
All right, so the adoption, just again, the adoption of any changes to our rules and procedures currently requires 2 readings at a public meeting, of whatever agreed upon changes or text or additions that we have. It doesn't require a quote formal public hearing. It's just 2 readings that somehow.
That's how we amended.
So
it
in other
last-
words, if we've agreed on some changes for our rules and procedures, we would then have 2 subsequent meetings from that point that we agreed or voted on said changes.
Why would we do two? I mean,
think-
that's redundancy, it's a waste of time.
It's our current practice, so.
But why? Why?
it's-
It's a waste of time.
Well, it is, but we have to follow it until we change it.
We should change it.
Yeah, well, that's in here to change it.
Yeah, you should change it. It's just a waste of time.
Yeah,
So,
One and done.
all right, so in other words, vote and then 1 public reading, and then we're saying is that anywhere, where's that located, just so that, we're just,
I don't know, that's just been the
Okay.
convention that's been in here, forever, and
okay. All right, so let's just, just again, just,
it's not in any RSA, I can tell you that.
Then get rid of it.
How do you really feel about it?
I don't like wasting time. I speak how I feel.
We only got so much time on this earth.
Exactly.
The other concept in here is just and it's my recommendation that it's a little bit of an assertion of our responsibility and our authority is, planning board staff assigned to the planning board works for the planning board. They may have other tasks appropriately assigned by the town manager because they oversee the personnel of the town, but planning staff that is assigned to work for the planning board by statute works for the planning board. We, in relation to planning board matters, we're the manager, controller, and director of that staff. I think that needs to be we need to have a clearer understanding that that's doing. And I don't want to certainly, start causing problems here with anything, but it's the planning board staff. It's our responsibility. It's our obligation to do the things we've been elected to do. We need staff to help us do it. And we by statute are in control of that staff. We can't tell what to pay for it, how to do it, what benefits or any of that. But in terms of how they relate to our rules of procedure or definitions of what we need from planning board staff, that's a planning board matter, in my view.
I think that'll have to be hashed out.
Yeah.
That's not cut and dry because the town manager's in charge of everyone that's in this building. Everything rolls up to the town manager in this building when it comes to,
But
Who does
the
it?
planning board staff, the planning board's a little bit different,
Okay,
but
right, but the thing is, there's not one person in this building that has one hat.
yeah,
And that's the thing. So it's the town manager to decide where the time goes as well.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because everybody I'm telling you, everyone in this town hall basically has 2, 3, 5 hats. They got a bunch of different hats.
I know that. I
It's the
live,
truth.
I live here too, I mean, I know exactly that. But I think there has to be some level of agreement, if you will, as to what the planning board staff does.
Right.
Well, if anything, then it's just whatever the staff does, then it ought to be memorialized, right? So insofar as that we're talking about memorializing various processes and functions, in terms of when an application comes in, what constitutes completeness, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that's necessarily uncontroversial
No, something like that isn't,
Yeah.
right? Because that has to get done.
Right. So, so the way I see it is that, if we're going to talk about something, if we're going to memorialize, a function of some kind, then, we're just doing that. I don't think we're necessarily reinventing things or anything like that. So that orientation, I guess we could just like plow through this and just, talk about it. So again, this will be an example of a working document. Like if someone else, in the course of, had an idea and they want it promulgated and we're going to talk about it during a planning board meeting, is what we would be working off of. All right. So page 1, what are we looking at here? We saw, it looks bylaws and that looks like that's an additional add. Is that correct, Dan?
Yeah, and that's
Right.
typically what they're referred to as
Yeah.
bylaws and rules of procedure. So I
And,
just,
the second one just looks like, and it's an editing where something's being deleted and, 5/15/2024 is added.
I just added, that's
Okay.
because we amended these in May of '24 for
Okay.
subcommittees.
No, that's good.
So I just,
Most current update. All right, everything that under authority, is that just, it looks like it's formatting. I think there's a delete here. Rules and procedures adopted under the authority of New Hampshire revised statutes, is that, why is that deleted? 676:1.
That isn't deleted. That's formatted, right?
No, it says deleted.
Deleted up above.
Yeah, it's
Subdivision
up above.
regulations. It's up above.
the subdivision, because they're no longer,
Subdivision
we're
regulations.
amending those, so we're calling them the
Okay,
subdivision and
Right.
it's actually wrong. It should be the other way around. It's subdivision and site plan review regulations.
Okay.
So,
Site plan regulations. Yep.
so the consequence of combining the site plan and subdivision is we're only, instead of having 2 separate regulations, we're going to have one.
One.
all right.
Regulations plus-
All right, page 2, under members, section B. So initial training. All right, so we have initial and is required is what we're adding. All right, just curious, Rich, did you, were you put in the direction of just the basic orientation stuff that you saw in New Hampshire and
No.
you probably, okay.
No.
So I think there were a couple, again, you've had, some experience
Yes.
already. So, but,
Newton operated very different than here.
okay.
Just saying.
How so? Just-
This is much more intricate.
Okay.
They were very vague, to just say. It was also 2006, 7,
Yeah.
long time ago.
The world was different.
It was a different world.
All right.
This kind of stuff here was not done there.
Okay.
This is mostly clerical, and it's very, how do you put it?
This wasn't 6 years ago either.
No, this is very tedious, actually.
Yeah.
It really is.
I'm not-
But
I'm not-
at this day and age, it's required. I understand that.
Okay. All right. So I guess my point is that when we talk about initial training, again, back to New Hampshire Municipal Association, I think there were a couple courses that we were directed to. And I'm sure, off the top of my head, I can't quite remember the name.
There's one that just.
It's like a land use board.
Yeah,
Land use.
there's one that comes up usually in May. It's a whole day training for new land use board members.
Sure.
And there's an hour one coming out in the next week or two, one of those lunches at noon kind of thing for newly elected.
Well, I got the email about the first one, and I signed up for it immediately.
Yeah, I
And
think,
I will continue to do that.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's basically what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And for somebody who didn't have any experience, it's basically like, okay, this is what we're talking about when we say completeness and things like that. And,
I got you.
so.
Because I have a lot of experience on that side.
Yeah.
And quite a little bit on this side, too.
All right. And again, whether or not we do, if it's strongly encouraged or required, it's like I said, I think if we're going to be on the board, it's sort of incumbent upon us to have sort of a basic,
Of course.
right? So C here, it looks like there's an edit, like ex officio member.
I just capitalized.
Yeah. So, all right, those are just basic edits. I assume page 3.
Yep.
Okay, additional lettering, but what's happening down here on 3F3? No board.
So right now, they're past the house is you can't have a member, local land use member sit on both the ZBA and the planning board.
Right.
Now, whether that makes it through the house, we can set our own,
we can
I don't
set
think
our
there's any doubt as to, generally my view as to independence of land use boards. And I think these things should be independent. I think they all drive in different lanes.
No, they should, because if you make a vote on one, then you have to excuse yourself if you're on another one, and that could get you below the quorum.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're two very different boards.
yeah,
Yeah, well, it's like the checks and balances, right? One
Not
checks
beyond
the other.
same.
Very different.
yeah, and
Right.
exactly,
Very
exactly. So that's just, again, that was,
Just to make it clear.
well, and I think it's going there anyways. I think by the time we get these adopted, you may have,
They'll all
it's,
be
you
through
don't have there would be no discretion.
All right, so
If not, I support it.
Service of
Let
other
go
board-
through.
okay, so right now we're saying that, we can have one person or whatever serving on the Conservation Commission. In this case, Tim used to be, well, he still is the secretary of the Conservation Commission. So he was
He's
our,
Still on it.
yep. And so, I guess that was our prohibition for saying that with one member. But I thought we had something that said that you couldn't be you couldn't be a member of more than one land use board apart. We couldn't.
What we did in our file thing was, you
I
can't
thought
be
that
on
was
one.
somewhere, but it's not in our rules of procedure, right?
Okay. So the only new thing is that we're stipulating that you can't be on the zoning board of adjustments. And then we're just saying we don't want an employee. We don't think an employer or a contractor of Plastow should be So that would be something that we would have to have some sort of
Well, that
consensus
actually was
on.
in, warrant article that was passed, right?
Yeah, on the ZBA.
At least on the
that's in
ZBA,
there, Yeah,
yeah,
in the ZBA, so that's in there.
Yeah, okay. Passed warrant. All right, as herein defined, that's just an addition that you added. Um,
That's just an editorial convention. If we referred to a term, but we had yet to define it, I just put in as herein defined. I've
Okay.
done that through. Once we define it, it's defined, but.
Now, so number 3, that's already in there. We're just adding like what's it, that's 75%? Is that what you're just adding in there?
75% of all regularly scheduled meetings, I
Yeah, but
guess.
that's the new addition or something, because it was
Well,
65?
it
Was it
was 65.
Yeah.
Not 67?
No, it
Okay.
wasn't.
All right.
But I don't necessarily, it just has to be whatever we're comfortable with.
Yeah.
Right.
If we're comfortable with 65, then it's 65, is.
No, I just think it's,
I'll give you my opinion. I think 75 is not a tall ask.
okay.
That's like, that, to me, that's like getting a C in school. Right? When you look at,
It really is,
Yeah,
really is.
Yeah, no,
All right.
that's why I put it. I just said,
I just thought
it's-
65.
You're making
was-
3 out of 4
65 seemed-
meetings,
Yeah.
that doesn't seem to be such a high bar.
no, I mean, obviously, if somebody ends up with an illness and they're out for a little
Correct.
bit,
Right, or
then you can
surgeries.
adjust it.
Correct.
That's all.
Well, you have an alternate.
I know you do.
Correct.
So,
I know. But I'm just saying if anyone, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But to me,
Anything.
if your attendance record is a C,
It's a
to me, it
win.
should be higher,
It's a
but,
win.
Yeah.
It's a win.
exactly.
yeah, to me, it should be higher.
Uh,
You got to use the word unexcused. That's a big difference.
It's also true.
Because usually there's a reason.
Yeah.
Excused can be hospital, can be anything.
So are we indicating, making a distinction?
Unexcused.
Just belaboring this one edit here. Okay, unexcused, it's in there. So, I mean, unexcused is just like, you didn't show up.
Unexcused. Not letting us know. either.
Next page, I suppose that's 4. Yeah, I see it's 4. So. Planning staff and board council, walk me through that there.
Okay. So this is just how the board selects staff.
Okay,
So the board, in consultation with the town manager, shall
Yep.
report planning staff from available town administration personnel as deemed necessary to carry out all administrative work,
Yep.
related to the efficient management of board duties and obligations. And this is similar language, just reconstituted that was in there.
So it's kind of what's already there now?
It is,
Yep.
it's just wordsmithed a little bit differently.
All right, I just have to look at what the original
Yeah.
was.
Just when you do these, just again, new to this board, what I would think I would expect to see would be what was there X'd out and visible,
It-
so you could actually know what the difference was.
It is, because if there's all these comments,
I see them, but it's not, I don't
well,
know.
if it doesn't say deleted or crossed over, it's not changed.
Again, like I said, I'm new to your procedures, and I'm just like, normally I would see something there X'd out and what the change was very clear, and this is not that way, but that's just, again, I'm brand new here. And I'm
Explain.
not complaining, I'm just saying, I would love to know what it used
No.
to say.
No, it's
You
just,
know?
Oh, I agree, because because a couple words could change the whole
Yeah,
context.
I
of
mean,
it.
verbiage is huge.
no, I'm just, like, if you look at the comments on the side, like for instance, if we back up,
Deleted
if we
board
back up
council.
I
to,
see deleted,
Yeah.
just one or I, and I'm like, well, where was
And
that
that's what they
deleted?
well, like I said, if we go back to 25.3A for officers, I kind of blew past that.
Yeah.
you know, it's the vice chair, and I think what was deleted was an and, right?
Yeah, I guess, and that.
Yeah, and then
it's pretty- It should
secretary-
be fairly clear on that,
I
that
mean, yeah, it
particular
tells
line.
you, right
Yeah.
there on the side.
But on some of the other ones, it's not as clear.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to know what was there before,
So
but just
here's,
trying to understand how this
Aligned
is.
in blue.
here's how Microsoft Word works, is if there's new language, it's underlined, okay?
Yeah, gotcha.
If anything is changed or deleted,
Yeah.
when you're tracking your changes, it shows up in this right-hand column.
Ah,
Deleted.
Okay. Like I said, this is very.
That's just the way,
Yeah, no, it's
that's just
fine.
the way
It's just, again, I'm just trying to
Microsoft works.
understand, because like I said, in my brain, I'm thinking, well, it's gonna be like red, Xed out, it's gonna be something, but I can understand, I understand.
In order to do that, you have to go through almost manually
Oh,
and X and, yeah.
yeah, that would,
So
Be a
this
little
just
much.
works.
I
This
gotcha.
just takes the document as it was presented to
Yep.
me. And then once I click on track changes,
All right.
it
pops them
just,
up on,
it just,
pops them up.
yeah.
I gotcha. Like I said, I'm just trying to understand.
All right, so let's just back it up to under officers, since it's sort of germane to what we were talking about before. The board shall elect a chair, vice chair, and in this
And
case,
secretary,
yes, and that's what's being proposed.
deleted. Well,
No, it's not deleted.
No, that's
it's an
being
addition.
proposed.
okay, I'm sorry.
From the elected membership and may create other officers as deemed necessary. Right.
So that's all in the current
Right.
requirements.
Yeah.
And so again, you know, from the perspective of the New Hampshire Municipal Association, they're pretty,
Whatever
pretty
is
strict.
underlined.
New Hampshire Municipal Association is pretty strident about the fact that, you know, if we wanted to create, I mean, this is sort of memorializing what we can do. I mean, if we wanted to create a committee, it's just a question of motioning it into existence, right? There doesn't have to be a charter. There doesn't have to be anything. I could move to set up a subcommittee for X, Y, and Z. It's seconded, discussed, and then voted on, right? So, you know, and again, this is what I was talking about, you know, in the beginning about adding an additional secretary that would, in my mind, would be sort of curating these types of things that we're doing. Okay. You know, so if we made changes or whatever, you know, I would expect whoever was the secretary to sort of incorporate those changes into the working document so that ultimately, you know, we would vote on the working document with changes or striking out the changes and I guess have a public hearing or two readings. And then afterwards, we'd only have to have one reading. You know, so I guess that's my logic on that. So anyone else? Were you going to say something, Nolan? All right, okay. And just so you know, we're not going to go past 9 o'clock on this. So just,
Well, we've already lost the 10 people that watched this approach.
yeah, well, no, there's,
10.
they're coming back. on.
Should've
They're
done
eating, and then they're going to log in while we're
For the break.
Exactly. All right, so if anyone else wants to, you know, is there any discussion on that? But again, it's sort of where logically where we want it to be on the secretary. I mean, is it? Anyone think that a secretary is verboten?
Well, the role is just, my understanding is just to be, basically retain what we're doing and keep it in order so we can have access to it, essentially.
Well, someone's got to, you know, do the work or make the edits and do all of that stuff. And right now, we don't have anyone doing that.
Yeah, like for instance, like the master plan stuff, you know, we want to have that product sent to the board and then we want to have it memorialized so we can sort of talk about this is what we intend to, you know, vote on and say that this is what we want to do with the master plan. But right now there's content that's kind of floating around.
In Newton, we had a secretary.
Okay. So,
But back then they were recording on little cassette tapes.
so-
Again, different time.
yeah, well,
But it worked.
yeah.
The meeting stopped, they flipped the tape.
So I don't think it's uncontroversial. I mean, I just, like I said, it's, if there was master plan stuff that the board that product hasn't been put in front of the board and it's not sort of memorialized where we can talk about it, I'd like to be able to put it on up here or send it out as a working document and have people look at it. But right now, it's like we're kind of not doing that, so. All right. So on the planning staff and board council,
But let me just give you my
Yeah.
2 cents on that one. I just think, again, it comes down to independence, you know? Right. If we've got people with zoning hats on doing planning board work, I'm sorry. I mean, I know we have to run an efficient town, but those duties should be segregated. Okay?
Absolutely.
I believe we shouldn't have the same council as the ZBA,
Mm-mm.
which we do
You're
now.
right. Oh, really?
I agree.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, that's-
she's never
no.
had that.
So-
Never.
Very separate.
And here's the thing,
Right.
I think we have good counsel. So
No.
it's, my view is I think that's a conversation, you know. if
The
this-
town council, is it Sumner?
No, the town council's actually different.
Oh,
So,
just curious.
no, so
If someone else will use for the.
We need our own.
The
Oh, yeah.
town has its own council,
Yep.
separate from the planning board or the ZBA.
It
The
should.
ZBA
It
council.
should.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
so those are the two kind of
Units.
independence pieces in here.
Yep.
That's all that language does, is establishes, you know,
all right,
that's up to council to make that call.
Yeah, and
you
that's
know?
gonna be, I'm gonna tell you, that's gonna be a tough one,
Yeah.
just with the amount of bodies we have in this town hall. It's gonna be tough to do that without the ability to hire additional people.
Hmm.
Because there's
But
only
what
so
if the
much, there's only so
boards-
much
what if the
money in the
board
till.
hired?
We only have so much money in the till.
No, and I'm not suggesting hiring, it just is the way process is getting allocated. I just think these end up being incompatible positions.
Yeah, and the
We
way,
have a
what are we talking about when you say incompatible? But let's just, so we're defining
So
terms.
zoning and planning.
Okay, so you're talking about the legal counsel associated with each of those, right? So,
The staff issue to me is the harder one because of the limited staff we have. I'm not saying that's,
it is, and it's, the town manager figures out, the best way he can to move people around. We only have a certain budget that we have to deal with. And
yeah.
that's what it is.
And I'm not, I don't
don't
think we need
control
to
that budget.
cost us more money. It just, we got that.
Karen, the budget that the planning board has does not go for the staff.
No, but I'm saying, why can't it, if we say we want to have our own, we have a possibility of going to, if needed, to a legal
Oh,
position?
legal, I'm talking staff in town hall. We're talking
no,
two
no,
different
we're-
things.
No, talking legal counsel.
Karen, I hear what you're saying. We were talking two separate things. That's.
yeah, so no, I don't think that's uncontroversial in the sense of, our legal counsel it's the board's legal counsel. And that
Correct.
comes from the legal counsel. when
No,
they say that.
we were talking two
Right.
different things.
Okay.
Now, if, I guess it's sort of an interesting perspective that, is
Thought
our
that we were
legal
gonna try to
counsel the
do.
same counsel for the ZBA? And we're saying that, well, should it be?
Oh.
So, I can understand, where it probably makes sense that is our legal counsel on both sides of two different boards.
Thank you.
I'd be curious to know there has to be some protocol in place of some kind. Like what is the protocol where you have counsel to the ZBA potentially being counsel to the planning board?
Lawyers have code of ethics, so.
Right.
you know.
But, no, I'm just saying that it's fair enough to ask, like, what is the protocol?
The thing is, you could have two different councils, they're both charging the same amount of money, so what's the difference? If you get one for here, one for there, the money's the same. I mean, mostly. I mean, they're all different. but
We used to have different councils to the
Yep.
planning board and to the,
They really should.
this
I
was
agree.
a,
I
this
agree.
was a change, 3 or 4 years ago.
Years ago.
Doesn't save the town any money. It
No,
doesn't.
but I'm just thinking, what it looks like when you're involved in a situation where two board, like hypothetically speaking, let's say that we disagreed with, let's say, a zoning determination of some kind that was being made. So we're challenging a zoning determination. All right, now that's going to go back to the appropriate board that's going to adjudicate that.
Which is the ZBA.
It's going to be the ZBA.
Right.
Which wouldn't
So-
be us.
What's that?
If it's on the ZBA, it's the ZBA. It's
Right.
Come back to us.
Well, so then, I mean, so you have a situation where, is the lawyer for the,
Yeah,
for the planning board,
Doesn't make a lot of sense.
right?
No,
I mean, are they on
it
both
doesn't.
sides of the
He
issue?
would,
It doesn't.
he would, by his,
It doesn't.
by his codes of professional conduct, have to recuse himself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or, it's probably worth.
So then the ZBA doesn't have a council board to wait.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting then just to know what the protocol is. Is it just somebody else within the firm becomes
No,
designated?
that
or-
can't be,
No,
can't be.
it can't
It's
be
a
the
Can't be the
firm.
same
it's-
firm.
Yeah, it's the
No.
whole
Right.
firm.
No, no.
So then so the point is that this kind of goes to the heart of that potential situation, right?
Right.
So-
That's
Right.
what I was suggesting. It's been brought up for 3 years now in a row.
Right, so,
Here's what I would suggest because I think it's worth a conversation with the town manager, is to see what his view on this is.
Agreed.
He runs the roost.
I think that's a fair,
He runs the roost.
yeah.
Put
to see what
put it
he
right in his
thinks,
lap.
Does he think this is unworkable, whatever? But I think he should have a
Right, fair enough.
That's fair.
a right
Just
to
do it.
comment.
Agreed.
His ultimate
So-
say.
page 4B1. So, yeah, and Bill, I think, number 2 kind of goes to what you were saying, that we have, limited resources, we're not going to be able to, someone's wearing 5 hats. I mean, so what that looks like. I mean, and that said, if we're hiring, if the town's hiring, planning,
Should be
people are
considered.
retiring.
So you remember that person that's retiring is doing multiple jobs.
Right.
So,
So
I
the
mean,
person-
So now we
So the
can't
person that could-
continue to do that.
Well, then that means
Let's-
when we
let's
go do the budget next year, the budget's gonna go up then. So
Yeah, I
for
don't-
each
I don't want-
position you wanna hire, you're probably talking $100,000.
I guess what I'm saying
With Ben
is
there,
that
yeah.
whoever's coming in that's going to be doing planning, I mean,
It's not going to do all 5 jobs.
whoever's coming in and doing planning, at least at a minimum, I would think the board should be sort of
To me,
meet and greet.
but to me, it's an easy enough thing if if the chair just has a conversation with the town manager and say, okay, how are we gonna, we need X, Y, and Z. What's the best way to get that? And is there a way to get it where we don't, maybe we're not crossing over to areas that we have some concern.
Well, and I guess this is sort of a good point to bring in. I did talk
We
to.
should have a say.
I did talk to RPC the last couple days, because originally, we did have a circuit rider, on occasions from RPC, or a planner. They helped us with working on the master plan. They did some sort of, role during our meetings, participated in the meetings, provided a level of expertise. But that was all hashed out contractually with the town and RPC. But because of staffing issues, they weren't able to supply us ongoing with a dedicated circuit rider. Situation may have changed, okay? So, I talked to the director at RPC. He said that it would require maybe further conversations with the town manager, made the town manager aware of that fact, that RPC might be in play to actually provide us some sort of circuit rider support. We would just have to hash out what
That would be
means.
awesome.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's like whether or
The
not maybe,
master plan.
well, or maybe have them present, let's say during our workshops. Like we would have to
Like they used
define.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'd have to define what the role is and how many hours that they could do. And I guess it's in the ballpark between now, Director Roche.
Does Rockingham pay for them or do we?
We'll be paid, we'll
So
be
it's a
paid.
city paid thing?
Yes.
Okay. I've
So we'd
dealt
have-
with them in the past. I
Yeah.
just didn't know where the money came from.
Yeah, no,
Or if
it
there
would come
was
from,
any.
it'd come from Plastow.
Did we leave that in the budget?
It should have been left in the
I think
budget.
we
Should have been
did.
left.
Yeah.
I think we did as well.
Yeah, because we weren't quite sure.
Right,
but
I think,
believe did.
right, I was just trying, I don't have it in front of me, just trying to remember.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
you're right.
No, the idea was that if it did come up, we'd want to take advantage.
So the
Yeah.
town pays the Rockingham Planning for that?
Yes.
Well worth it.
Oh, no, I've been privy to it. I just didn't know the money
So-
part of it.
So I guess now we just have, there'll be some conversations hopefully in the near future, hopefully, in which, maybe what that will look like. So, I mean, I guess that's where,
I've used them in master plan.
Yeah.
stuff,
yeah,
But it was great. We'd have them here at meetings. They'd weigh in
Yeah, but
on
I've
different
dealt with
things.
them
It
all the
was
time.
well worth it.
Dealt with them all the time. We have one every meeting.
no, so we would
But
like,
yeah,
we would like to
different
have
time,
them.
different time.
So we had them, now we didn't have them. Now they didn't have staff. Now it looks like they might have staff.
Yeah.
So we're kind of waiting on that.
Yeah, we've been trying for that for years too.
But we had it for what, about 2 years?
What was the one there that was, I saw that was very good, like a few years ago? Was it Sarah?
Sarah,
Yes,
yes.
Sarah was the best.
Very good. Yeah, we went from Sarah to Victoria.
Or,
No, Sarah was the best.
not that Victoria wasn't good, but Sarah
Yeah,
seemed,
no,
I liked
Yep,
the
she-
way she had about her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she knew her
Agreed.
stuff.
All right, so that was just, just before I forgot, so. All right, so I think we covered 4. Page 5. Let's just kind of push through some of this so that we'll probably call it a night, I guess. Well, maybe this will be for the next meeting too. Right, these look like edits here, like we.
Well, they actually, because I was working off of just a version that didn't have the changes we made last May.
Yes, because we have
This
2
section-
commissioners.
This section is where those changes were made.
Okay.
So it shows like we are making changes here, but I'm just incorporating what we had already approved.
Yeah,
Right.
so, I mean, we have 2 commissioners, that's obvious, so that's why it should be in there.
Yep.
I took this verbatim from the vote of May 15th of last year or whatever.
May 15th. All right, so does that include, like, under duties, what do we have here? Secretary of the board? Well, again,
We're
we've
gonna have
talked
to
about that.
replace them.
We've talked about that, secretary of the board. Again, it's, whether or not we want to do that or not, I think it's uncontroversial. Relettering, D,
CIP
recording
committee.
secretary shall be a member of the planning staff. Are we referring to Charlene?
We are.
The third person, all right.
We are.
Okay, page 6. This is a succession management. This is a Jack Bauer type thing in the event that the chair and vice chair are wiped out. The secretary will take over. Relettering, F, the planning staff. Number 8, correspondence reviewed when directed by the board. Board counsel.
I just changed
Right.
it from
Yeah,
attorney
attorney.
to make the terms consistent.
All right. 7, make on-site inspections as directed. So we're just deleting deem as deemed necessary. So that's just sort of. 8, relettering, and then D, this looks, what are we just, is this just reformatting? You added like,
May announced.
nor less frequently quarterly.
No, this is something we used to do here. We used to
Yeah.
have the building inspector and code enforcement
Yeah.
officer.
Mike Dorman used to show up all the
Yeah.
time at the meetings.
Yes.
So
it
my
was
thought
always-
was, and we can say, did I say?
Quarterly, no less than quarterly.
No, I'm just looking, did I use may or shall? So we should,
Claims
we,
processing.
we should use may,
Was he-
probably, you know, as, instead of
Planning
shall,
board in Newton, yes.
you know, in that word.
No, I think that makes sense. This is something that I think as long as I've been conscious of a planning board existing, you know, that we've talked about,
Use
like,
your corridor building.
yeah, why not? I mean, it's just, and it's not anything, it's just sort of like, you know, meet and greet, you know?
Yep, yep.
You know, and just nothing, you know, so I think that's uncontroversial.
And I gave it like quarterly, which I thought was fairly reasonable.
It's 4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a huge commitment.
Yeah.
You know, if whatever's going on, if you don't need them, you say you don't need to show.
Well, and it doesn't mean that they can't come at other times when they want to.
Maybe they want to come to the planning board. meeting,
Yeah.
I don't know. Exciting place.
Especially if there's something big in front of you.
Exactly.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to hang with us and read through this?
Correct. I don't even want to hang with us. I wrote it.
Come on, no. A public hearing meeting, so we deleted should and added may. All right, I think that's page 9, added H, changed lettering. I, any public hearing meeting, the board shall be acting as a quasi judicial body.
This is a simple sentence, but it establishes a fairly significant responsibility on us
Well,
because,
and we're not doing anything different with that. This is what, in fact, we do.
correct, like
Okay.
all of the public hearings we have on site plans,
Yeah.
we're acting in a quasi judicial capacity.
Right.
My feeling is we should just make that standard on any public hearing. It puts some responsibility on us, but it also adds a layer of protection as to how we're going to act.
Mhm.
Because virtually at any time, like tonight, we're engaged in legislative activities, you know, so.
So this is a distinction between
Yeah,
quasi
but it does
judicial and
put an
quasi
additional layer
legislative.
of responsibility on us, so.
All right. F, we look like we're capitalizing X. That's not controversial. 10,
Excellent. A couple of those.
yeah.
Alternate. does that
I
mean
thought
by
Bill
Board of
should have a
Selectmen?
capital letter. That was just my,
You've been capitalized.
You mean may
All
serve
right,
in
we added
place of
I,
a-
adoption of motions. Is there anything other than
What does that
format?
mean now? The Board of Selectmen representative may serve in place of a member? If he had to? No
Where are
alternate?
you-
Is that what you're
Where are
saying?
you reading?
F on page 9.
We're on 10.
We're going
I
back.
know, I know.
We're on 10.
that's already in there.
That's already in there, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't understand that.
Basically, what it means is, if I'm not here,
Yeah.
the only one who can be in my place is my alternate.
Correct.
Oh, okay, all right.
Or I think the board actually, if the alternate's not available, they can appoint someone to be.
Right, but that's,
Yeah.
Oh.
but it's up to me to be
That's what I
able to have an
didn't
alternate.
understand.
Right,
Oh.
So you get an alt.
I understand that. Okay.
So adoption of motions, page 10. Is this just formatting or is this anything new? Affirmative vote of
it's new.
counted?
So this just establishes that a majority is all we need to vote on a motion.
Always has been.
So that's, we could call it a quorum, you can call it any, but, so
Persons abstaining shall not be considered members
Considered
voting
members
in
voting.
determining whether a motion has been adopted. Well, so you abstain, so you're not.
correct,
So in other words, you're just basically saying that somebody abstaining doesn't blow up a quorum.
Right.
yes,
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually.
that's exactly what it does, is it prevents that.
Right.
This is, remember, our rules are different, including the RSA's, our rules are different than the ZBA, when in order for them to approve something, you have to have
Have to have
3
them.
members
Have to have-
voting in the affirmative.
have to have them.
Yeah, so if we have 3, if 2 go for it,
Yeah, yeah.
you're good to go.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
All right, so 1, order of business, unless modified by vote, follows the following order of business.
I just took our agendas and basically
All right, so,
put it in the,
so.
put it in the rules of procedure.
Okay. All right, so, but, yeah, so does the chair, does the chair have, at the chair's discretion, we can go out of order? Is there anything in there that says that?
What, for the agenda?
Yeah.
Chair can always adjust the agenda.
Yeah,
So, all right.
That's never an issue.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that's the case.
Yeah, you did, I don't think
You
you
could put
need
it any
permission
order
to
you
do
want
that.
to.
I don't
No,
need
the chair
permission
can
from you.
just, they can
Yeah.
change the agenda at any time.
You could put it any order you want to.
So we have 11, we just, 2 is added, any applicant, any abutter, or, so as abutter is being added, but that looks like that's just, you deleted a lowercase.
It's just a capitalized.
Because
term.
because that's a defined term somewhere. Defined term.
It could be in person.
All right, so to page 12, all right, we got 4 minutes, let's go. Public matters, number 13. All right, so. Okay. So this is just defining order of like applications unless they're moved around.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's just basically how it's on the agenda.
Yeah.
First in goes on the agenda first, but the chair can always
We've always
change that
had
that
that.
night.
And if it's continued, it's the first one from
Right.
previous.
Yeah, so if.
Right, because they were already on a previous agenda.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
17, such order and decorum. Yeah, so 17 is banging the gavel.
Yep.
Oh, we're handing the gavel off. Is that what we're doing?
And I pulled this from, I compared this to, this might have been Allenstown, that when I was looking through language, I saw this thematically in a bunch of zoning, rules of procedures.
You had me do
But
this one
I,
time when you
I,
were up there.
I liked what was in there for the wording. So that's where it came from.
All right.
I substituted when you went out in the audience.
Okay. Okay.
It's very much a just.
Yeah, I mean, it's just sort of
memorializes what we're
memorializing what we do. Okay. All right, so we have so 21 is if we want to overrule if I want to cut off discussion, then, someone could overrule the decision of the chair by a majority vote, if they so wish. All right,
If you get out of hand,
Yeah.
we can rein you in.
stop banging it, like, no more discussion.
Probably not going to
Does the
happen.
board's action default to Robert's rules?
No.
The chair shall chair all joint meetings, all right?
That's
So-
statutory, just so you know.
Yeah.
Any joint meeting that the planning board has with another board, the planning board chair is the chair of that joint meeting.
Well, that would probably depend on who the
Well, it
joint
just,
meeting is with.
well,
Right, I don't
it
think the
is-
selectmen
there-
would bow.
but there's almost no provision for a joint meeting with the planning board and the board of selectmen.
Let's say if it's a possibility, it could happen for whatever reason.
That's not clear in the RSA,
I would think you would think it would be the,
I would defer to the board of
I
selectmen,
would
right?
bet on the selectmen.
I'd
because
let-
when we
I
do
would
it joint, because we do the one that year jointly with budget.
let-
Right.
All right, so 14, in support of applicant should be allowed to speak.
I mean, if you think of it, the likelihood would be remote.
It's about 0.01%,
Maybe,
to be honest.
maybe.
But it's funny that it's a good point though, because the RSA's, everything just talks about the planning board with other like land
use
use type
boards.
boards.
Yeah.
All right, so the page 14, G is the only one that I think is interesting here, because the other ones look like just sort of decorum type stuff, like, you can speak, and things like that. J is saying that if there's a joint meeting with the ZBA, if there's a decision, the ZBA will make the decision first.
That's statutory.
Yeah, so that's just sort of memorializing that.
But if you think about it, that makes sense, because
Yeah.
if we're dealing with a variance that has to be
It's all
established.
ZBA first,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
Always.
Communications on 225-7A. All right, I think that's you
I'll tell
basically
you-
saying
I'll
course.
tell you what I liked when I was reading this, or of another, so this might have actually been from the infamous Bo. I like the fact that we had to have a heads up before any communication was out there about or from the board. You know, and the full board should at least have the opportunity to be aware of what's being communicated by.
So
the
a chair
board.
just can't turn around and just call a press conference
Yeah.
and blindside
Yeah.
all of you.
No, which makes sense.
Fair enough.
Which makes sense, because if the selectmen put out something, everyone knows it's
Yeah.
going out.
Right. And one of us will get a call or something like that, you know, and and so.
I didn't know that.
It's common courtesy more than
Yeah,
anything. You don't
no.
want to see anyone get blindsided.
Right.
It's nothing worse.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And let's just talk about 15, and we're going to close this meeting out in a minute. All right, what do we got here?
So it's basically who can talk to board council. That's D.
All right.
And it's essentially,
I would like to have.
So we just can't have random people calling the lawyer,
no,
all
I
right?
mean, we can convey everything to you and you
Fair
can,
enough.
you know,
I think that's what we do right now, but it's
Yeah.
good to memorialize that. All right.
any communication between the board and an applicant gets forced through the planning staff, which is essentially what it does now. This just memorializes it.
All right. 16, same conditional use permit procedures. Well, all right.
I don't have them yet, but we
Right.
just adopted a
Right.
whole conditional use zoning ordinance.
So 225-8 site walks, this is just memorializing the practice that we do on site walks.
Yeah, we didn't really have any language in
No.
here on sidewalks, so.
I think we're just having someone take notes, and it was a noticed meeting.
Some not bad, some.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
Just to deal with Coleman McNair. Oh,
All right. All right, I encourage everyone, just take a look through, this, and again, working documents. If you have something that you want to communicate it to the chair, and we'll put it out there for one of our working sessions, or if there's anything that we have any heartache on and we need to build out, we can, but at some point, we're going to probably want to, sort of a vote, memorialize these changes, and then we'll have to do our two readings, and then hopefully have to only do one reading at some point. So any other input, old business, new business?
If I have to run that thing again, I'm bringing my Mac.
I was going to get you a mouse. All right.
Get me a mouse,
If
right?
there's nothing more, I'll close this meeting out at 9:04. Thank you.
Thanks.
you.